Welcome to this edition of the Belau Report. I'm Jane Belau. Our guest this week, Shaun Palmer, and you are from District
Ward 5.
4 and 5.
No, Ward 5.
45.
5.
Okay.
Yep, and I was elected in 2018. I was re-elected 2 years ago, and I love being on the city council. I love serving the citizens of Rochester.
Good for you.
Yep.
All right. All right. Now, you had a big meeting last night.
We had a great meeting yesterday. It was our study session, so that starts at 3:30 and runs to 6:30. And so we have those on the second and fourth Mondays. And then on the first and third Mondays, we have our regular meeting that we vote at, and that's the first and third, and they start now at 6 o'clock. Makes it easier for people to get there, and it makes it more effective for people. So yesterday, when we were talking, it was 3 items that came up. One of them, the first one was 311 system. So hopefully by July, August, we'll have 311 in Rochester. So what that means is, if you as a citizen see a pothole or have a question on a tree or something, you can call it, and they will then transfer that call to the proper person. They'll put it in the computer, and then when that proper person responds, they send a note saying it was responded to. So one of the frustrating things on the city council is when you get a person that says, hey, I called the park department 8 times and no one returned a call. Now we can say, why did you not call, or when did you call, or you did call, or they didn't call 8 times. And so that will be very helpful for people. The other thing is, if 2 o'clock in the morning you think of something and you go, geez, I want somebody in the Rochester to know this, that you can email it or text it to the 311 system. They will then at 8 o'clock in the morning look at it and transfer it to the right people. So it's a good way for citizens to get better access to City Hall and to get services done that they really do need done. It's more efficient.
Good.
Yes. So that was what part of our meeting. The other one is our fire department. Some good news on the fire department is that we have the ISO rating, which is how they rate your fire department for commercial insurance. And so we went from a 3 to a 2. So that means our response time and a lot of different things go into this rating, but it's huge when it goes from a 3 to a 2. And so if you look at the city map of how we respond, that shows that on that map, which is a good thing for our citizens and our business owners. The interesting part of it is, because as you know, we invest in our fire department. It's important to have a good fire department. As we grow, we have to invest and make sure that we invest in our fire department, because we can't have somebody way out of town and not be able to get to them right away for that. The other thing that our chief has done, which I appreciate, is they've rethought how do we handle our calls and stuff. And we have a lot of EMT calls, a lot of the patient calls that we send a crew out to that we don't need to. So we'll rearrange that so that we send out EMTs to someone's house, and they'll be able to respond better, and that'll free up our firefighters to do firefighting work that they want to do. So I think that's a good, efficient way of doing things. And so that'll make life easier for everybody and better for the citizens of Rochester. And probably the third thing, and I hate to say it's the biggest thing, but it is a big thing for us, is after 25 years of fighting about Silver Lake Pool, we made a decision as a city council to replace the pool there. It'll be an 8-lane, 25-yard pool, something that you can teach swimming in, and something that you can swim laps in, do water aerobics, something for young kids, you know, that teenage kids can throw the ball around and goof around. It'll be next to a splash pad. So originally they had the money for a splash pad, and so we're going to have a splash pad next to the pool. We'll rebuild the pool house because that was built in 1959. It's 65 years old, same age as me. Needs to be replaced, and it'll be interesting to see. That comes to the city council Monday for a vote. We're looking at how we fund that. There's a couple different ways of doing it. We have some sales tax dollars from 2012 that we can use. Also bonding, we can bond for that, and that probably makes the most amount of sense to do that. So we'll fall on the property tax a little bit, but I think the citizens of Rochester want a second and third pool. 1960, Rochester had 40,000 people. Now we have 120, and going down to one pool doesn't make much sense. Hopefully, the pool at Soldiers Field, which has been completely demolished, bathhouse has been remodeled, will be opening the 1st of June. and that'll get a lot of use. And that is, it's not a water park, but it is, we'll have slides and stuff. So it's a newer, bigger pool, different type of pool that we had in the past. But this pool at Silver Lake will be a teaching pool. They teach 400 different kids how to swim. Boys and Girls Club, the Jeremiah program, some other nonprofits bring kids there. Our Able Rec is headquartered out of the old station at Silver Lake, and they walk over to the pool. And so for those kids, that's important. I had 2 boys that did that program. It's so much, warms your heart when you drive down 7th Street and see that gang going to the pool and getting able to get in the pool with their helpers.
Okay, is that all you did?
I know that's a lot, but that was a big meeting, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, now, the fire department.
Yep.
If you have a heart attack, who do you call?
Call 911, and in Rochester, we're really fortunate. Our police department all has AEDs. They'll usually show up right away, and then our fire people, our EMTs, will show up with Gold Cross, and Gold Cross will transport you and get you the best service. And I'll say this, and I asked this question of the chief a year ago, if you have a heart attack in the world, the best place to have a heart attack is Rochester, Minnesota. We have the highest survival rate of anybody in the world, and that's because of our fire department. They work well with Gold Cross. Our police department has AEDs. They know how to do that. They know how to do CPR. So I think that's a great thing that not many people know in Rochester, but it's the best in the world to have a heart attack. Not that you want a heart attack, but if you're going to have one, do it here in Rochester.
Now, is that a part of Destination Medical Center?
Not much, I mean, that's investments in downtown. The DMC is investments for sewer and underground stuff. I mean, when Mayo Clinic says they're going to do a $5 billion investment, not a lot of people know what that really means or can see that, but that'd be like having 5 Viking stadiums downtown. It's the largest project in Minnesota's history, private and or government.
Okay. But the people still call 911.
They call 911. And so I go back to the 311 system. The neat thing about that is that a lot of cities have that. So you don't know who to call or what to do. And if you go online, you don't know what number to use. And sometimes they call the secretaries of the mayor's office. And, Michonne is good about it, but it's one person. This way, you get your call routed and also tracked. And I think that's important for that to be tracked. Now, the question was asked by Mr. Keene. It was a good question yesterday, is privacy. If I call in and my neighbor has a barking dog, state law says that I cannot tell you who complained. And so if you call to complain about your neighbor or something happening, I can't release that name to anybody. And that protects those people to be able to call and get the services that they think that they need.
Okay. So if you see a neighbor fighting, you call a different number. You
would call 911 if it's an emergency. If you have a dog that's barking, I prefer you to call the 311 line when it opens. Right now, you'd call the non-emergency number. We get a lot of phone calls. I'll change it a little bit. Every ward has at one time going a house that's a trouble house, one that there's complaints. And typically what I've observed is people will spend 2 months and cars are coming and going, there's garbage, there's noise, it doesn't make much sense, and then they start calling the police department. Well, they've already lived with it for about 2 months because people don't want to complain. If you have a problem house, you can call the non-emergency number. They will record that, and then our CAT team gets that report and goes, there's something going on here at this neighborhood with this house. Let's kind of keep an eye on it or go visit it or find out what's going on. Now, same token, I get people who call up who say, my neighbor didn't rake their leaves and their leaves are getting in my driveway or on my lawn. That's not something that the city handles, but it bothers some people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So will they they have specially trained people in the fire department then for the medical?
Yes, they will. They'll have specially trained people, and they'll have, you know, all of our fire department personnel, frontline firefighters, are trained to be those first responders. This will be a different group of people who have a different skill set. In downtown, they analyze the numbers. The downtown station gets so many of these calls that it makes more sense to have a specialized group that does this. I like the fact that our chief looked at it from a perspective of trying something different, not just adding more bodies or adding another station.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find firefighters. And we have a good program right now of trying to promote different people from experimenting coming into that industry.
How many are trained as first responders?
The top of my head, I'd say we have 109 firefighters. I believe all 109 are trained. I think they'll have 20 that are going to be specialized just in the EMT part.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Silver Lake, that has been a conflict for years.
Yes, it has.
And you resolved it.
Well, the pool we resolved, and so we have a master plan for Silver Lake. That pool is getting replaced finally after 25 years, and we'll see how that gets done. We're also adding there's a corner there. We're going to do a ceremonial grounds for some of the Native Americans who will use that as a area for them, because in history that's an area they were at. We're adding more to the skate park that's there. On the north side of 7th Street, we're adding a new playground, more handicap accessible there. You know, we do have the 3 Links Park there. That'll stay there. That's probably our best, most used park. Hoping to get that bathroom for the pool to be winterized so that you'll have a bathroom year-round there. So if you take your kids to the 3 Links Park, you'll be able to, fall or spring or winter time, go over and use the bathroom facilities, which I think is more convenient at that park. And I think it would be a good investment for us.
Okay, transit.
Yep.
Transit, how's that coming?
Well, the big news is on North Broadway. We're redoing North Broadway this year. That'll get done. That's all the way from the bridge all the way north to Elton Hills, a little bit past that. But then at the rec center, we're going to be building a parking ramp. And that has 2 ideas there. One of them is the parking ramp for commuters. So we'll go from the old Shopko lot to there, to the ramp. But in the summer, in the weekends then, we can use it when swim meets are there and hockey games, because we're short of parking there. So it has a double whammy there, which is really good for the public. But the big thing is our bus rapid transit system, our BRT. And we're on funding for that. We're planning on that. We're starting to let contracts out for that. We're buying buses to get that going. So what that is, in a nutshell, is there's a parking lot on the west side of Rochester that Mayo Clinic has that will have a parking ramp built. Then you'll be able to get on a rapid bus, take that bus all the way into Rochester, turn around at the old Fullerton lot, come back on 2nd Street, and there'll be a bus there about every 10 minutes. And you'll be able to walk right on. The platforms are level, so if you have a bike or a wheelchair, you're right there. There's not a lift. You get on, you get off your next stop. It's supposed to be very convenient. We went and looked at one in Indianapolis prior to COVID, and I was impressed at how that system worked and how convenient it is. So that should help with the dilemma of how many people are coming downtown. And it's going to be going on until 11 o'clock at night. So if you want to have dinner somewhere else in downtown Rochester and park your car there, you can park your car there, go to dinner and come back. And we're excited about that.
Now, what is paying for that?
Well, the federal government's picking up a lot of that, and then the state government does. And then the operational part of it, 95% of the cost will be paid for by the Mayo Clinic. We have a 20-year agreement with them that they will pay for that, and that will be a huge help. Not many people know from our bus lines, our regular buses that run through Rochester, they don't know that property taxes do not go to your buses. It's state and federal money that pays for our buses. So The BRT should be paid 99% without property tax. Um, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be pleasant for a year when we're rebuilding transit stations and doing things on 2nd Street, and we have to rebuild 2nd Street from 11th Avenue West in front of St. Mary's. That's a congested area already, but when we redo that road and do some few things to make it easier, in the long run it will look nice. It's just like downtown with Bold Forward, with Mayo Clinic. We're working with them. They've been working with the city for about 2 years on plans on how to do things. It will be a tough 3 or 4 years, but once it's done, it's going to be a beautiful, state-of-the-art, world-famous hospital being built, and it will add a lot to Rochester.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. They'll have, at the peak, and we had a meeting on this, at the peak they'll have 2,000 trade people coming into Rochester working for 2 years. And so part of the dilemma on that is, where do we house these people? And then the other dilemma we have, as we've talked about in the past, it's just plain housing. How do we get more housing in Rochester and single family dwellings? How do we get more home owner occupied? And we've worked really, really hard with the county. They're a good partner with us. The coalition, Housing Coalition, has worked hard. The Rochester Area Foundation has worked hard with the city and DMC to how do we incentivize that? And so we have some proposals coming up to help out builders to get back into that market and get that, I always say, get that rock rolling down the hill so we don't have to roll it anymore. So we're short about 800 houses a year. We're building 200 houses a year, and so there's a huge uptick that we need to do. And that's important, and the reason that's important, Jane, is when you go to the Mayo Clinic, you want somebody to greet you. If you go to the grocery store, you want somebody to be working there. Well, they need to work somewhere. They need to live somewhere. And they should live in a home. Not everybody. We do have apartments, and apartments are important. But we really do need to have single-family dwellings. That's the American dream. That's where people build the most wealth. Most people do.
Now, is the city taking the lead on this?
We are partnering, and we're partnering with the county, and so we go back to our sales tax extension, and part of that was economic vitality. Part of that, I believe, already will get $5 million to help out with different businesses, but then 25 million of that will go to incentivizing housing being built in fee reimbursement and try to keep the lot price a little bit lower to pass that on to the homeowner so they can afford that house. And then we also have TIF available, tax increment financing, and we'll have that available. We used that in the 90s because we had a housing crisis during that time. And we'll use TIF on that, and that will be helpful. Trying to get those builders to not just build $1 million houses, but get them in that $300,000 mark. And that has now become an entry-level home, a $300,000 home.
What kind of buses are you buying?
They are buying electric buses, and they have grants from the federal government to buy electric buses. You and I are not a fan of electric buses, and I'm waiting to see how they work. They did not work well in Duluth because of the cold weather, but they believe that these will work because it's a flat transportation area, not any hilly place, and they think they have the charging down. So we'll see.
Wow, that's a gamble.
It's a gamble, and I always tell everybody you have to count to 4 in the city council, and I was not one of the 4 that voted yes, but we march as one. Once the city council makes a decision, it's all of our decisions to own. So we're moving ahead. So,
and parking is part of this.
Parking is part of it. We did a pilot program this last November, December. It cost us about $20,000 a month to have 2 hours of free parking, and it sounds like that was very successful for our downtown businesses. Right now, we have an hour of free parking. So if you want to go down to lunch and eat lunch, an hour just doesn't quite get it. I'd like to see us go to 90 minutes. I think that's a good compromise. But it worked well, and it helps out our downtown businesses, which we really do need to help out our downtown businesses because we have great businesses downtown, and I spend I'm downtown about 4 days a week. You know, start shopping at Hanny's and go to the post office and go to the bank and go in some of the shops and buy Carol's corn and those kinds of things.
So what about utilities? What are they doing to accommodate the change in power?
Well, that's a really tough question, and you know, SEMPA is a plan that we've had, a old coalition, a group we've had since the 70s, and we are getting out of the SEMPA contract in 2030. And at the time they did it, it was a smart idea to buy electricity and plan plants together. So I think it's 7 different communities that we're involved with. So we're out of that in 2030. In the energy field, their short-term planning is 10 to 20 years. That's short-term to them. And so they are trying to plan and how do we do green, how do we do renewable? And the debate really comes down to your base. And so by law, we have to have a base, a dependable base. So in January, and it's 20 below zero, and you want to use your electricity, it's there. We have to guarantee that it's there. And so how do you do that? Natural gas is the easiest and probably the best way of doing it right now. There are some environmentalists that don't want to do that. They want to depend on wind and solar. That technology is not there. Then they'll say, well, we'd like to use batteries. That technology is not here yet. And I don't know if it ever will be here. But electricity is one of those, RPU is an investment for us that is ongoing, big planning, big ideas that in a large amount of money that we need. But we need to be dependable. My hats go off to RPU. They are probably one of the more dependable electrical distributors in the United States.
We got a notice about changing our power device that measures how much we use.
Yes.
And is this part of it?
No. That part of it is they just update their meter sockets. And so, you know, if your home is getting older, they'll replace those. But in the near future, we will have real-time metering. And so that tells us who's using electricity, when they're using electricity, and that has a benefit to the city, RPU, to be able to buy and sell electricity. And that would be helpful to you because we're going to probably end up going with 2-tier or real-time budget or real-time paying for it. And so, you know, at the middle of the night at 4 a.m., your electricity is going to be cheaper than at 4 p.m. So electricity in June, July, and August from 4 to about 9 o'clock at night is expensive because everybody's turning on their air conditioners, everybody's turning on their ranges, everybody's turning on their TVs, and that sucks energy, where that's the peak. And so we have to be at our peak. We have to be able to take care of that peak demand. And so that's where that real-time metering will come in place to incentivize you to, you know, do your clothes dryer at 4 in the morning or go ahead and dry your hair at 4 in the morning if you want to get up in the morning and take a shower quickly.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other problems facing the city besides paying for all of this?
Well, we don't really have any problems, Jane. We have opportunities to look at. And so
you sound like a Democrat.
Well, we're nonpartisan, you know that. You know, I have a positive personality, and so you got to look at it. How do you want to look at the glass? Is it half full or half empty? And I'm one of the people that likes the half full, and I'm glad I got water, and I'm glad I have a glass. So, you know, in Rochester, and we've talked about this in the past, is, you know, as a city council member, you have an international airport, you have RPU, you have water, you have planning and zoning, you have a bus system. There's things that we do that Minneapolis and St. Paul don't have. And so they have the MAC for the airport, and they have the Met Council for everything else. We don't have that, and I don't want the Met Council. But so, you know, when you're on a city council and you get a 1,000-page agenda, and you have to read that, and I read them on Wednesdays. They come out on Wednesday. I read it Wednesday night, read it again on Thursday, send questions out to the staff, trying to figure out what's going on. And then Friday, I pretty much have read it again. So I'll reread it on Sunday, and my questions get answered. And then Monday, we have our meetings, and I'll listen to the debate from my other council members and suggestions from the staff and suggestions from the residents of Rochester. I'll get emails and phone calls and you know, what do you think about this? Have you thought about that? So I appreciate those things, but that's how we make a decision.
Okay. Any other issues that you can think of facing the city?
Well, you know, the biggest one is housing, and that's going to be, that one is going to be an ongoing one, and it is for everybody. Homelessness is one of those that we're working with the county on. You know, it's about 100 homeless people in Rochester. About 20 of them are hard to house. They have been kicked out of night shelters in the library, and about another 20 do not want to be in a shelter, and they're camping out in different pieces. And so we have a camping ordinance that says you cannot camp on city property, and that will come to us on Monday, the 18th, I believe. Will come to us, and we have 4 votes for that to get that passed. And so that'll be a tool that our police department can use as a last resort. And right now, we had a city council resolution that said you can't do it. Now we had to have an ordinance because we have some homeless people who say, you can't kick me out of here. And so the last step would be to give them a ticket, to have them go to court, and then have the judge say, you just can't do this, can we get you some help? Our goal, I mean, you gotta remember, these are our brothers and sisters. Our goal is to have people get help that they need. And some people aren't ready right away, and some people are. You know, we have great we have great people. We have Catholic Charities. We have Salvation Army who are out there working hard. And then we have some people who just want to criticize and say we're not doing enough, or, you know, it's a tougher issue.
And the parking, if you will, for people is still open.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, and so, yeah, and that's important thing to remember is that, you know, our parks are open to everybody, and anybody can be there, but you have to follow the rules. And not everybody wants to follow the rules, and you know, we're not sitting there, you know, with 900 policemen. I mean, it's not the top one item we have, but I should feel safe anywhere I go in Rochester, and you should be safe anywhere you go in Rochester.
Okay. All right, and we have enough police?
We do, and that's an answer that is, you depend on your professionals. Rochester has done a very good job of investing, and I use the word investing in our police department, in our fire department, and in our employees. And one of the examples I always give, and it always baffles me, is that our police department, our people on the front line have a camera, and that camera records what they do. That takes technology and takes money for storage. The City of Austin does not have that. And we've gone as far as our sergeants or our people in the office can literally watch, if they want to, what's going on with that officer. So if that officer's having troubles, they can see it in real time and say, we need to get him some more help, or get her more help. We also have, I believe it's 5 social workers now embedded in the sheriff's office and the police department, for those people who don't really need to have a uniform officer there, but just need to have somebody guide them along and get them the services that they need. It's just another tool that we have, but we've invested in that. We've invested in cameras with our police department, and Mayo Clinic has a lot of cameras. City of Rochester has some cameras. We're getting more, so that you can see on the monitors what's going on in the community. You can say, hey, you know, we need some help in this location or that location. The other thing we do for investment is really, our police chief's done a great job of community outreach, and that is our Safe City Nights. And we do one of those in each ward. You can come and see the fire trucks. You can come and have a free hot dog, because we have sponsors who do that for us. You can come see the city council members. You can see the mayor. You can walk around and kick the tires of the fire trucks, and street sweepers, and the sheriff gets there, and the state patrol gets there. And it's a neat opportunity in each neighborhood. And what it does is it builds trust in the community with us, with the officers, but the other side of that is that the officers also see the community. And it's a two-way street of trust. And you know, as long as our citizens trust our police department, then our police department trusts our citizens, it's a win-win for everybody. And so we're moving ahead with that, and I like those types of programs. You know, Shop with a Cop has been there for a long time, but just to see them as regular people.
Okay, now, in closing,
Yep.
what would you like to say to our viewers?
Well, I always use the adage, you know, people say you can't fight City Hall. I want Rochester to work that you don't have to fight City Hall. I want it to work for everybody. I want us to represent everybody. I want you to say, you know, the 311 system is a great step forward to that. If you have a problem, reach out to your council person, and you can always reach out to me. In our phone number, my phone number is 507-254-9484, but you can also email us. Mine is pretty simple. It's palmerward5@gmail.com. But we're all listed on our city website, and I'll sit down with most anybody and listen to what they have to say. Housing, I've listened to over 80 people, and bankers and builders and realtors and homeowners and state people, and it's you have to. This job is more about listening than it is about anything else.
Thank you very much, Shaun, for your report. It is thorough, and you listen and take your cues from the public, so that's really important. Thank you, our viewers, for your interest in city issues and our city council people. And we'll be back next week, same time, same channel. In the meantime, have a very good week and a very good night.